Hey folks, how's it going? At around 6 o'clock this morning, Eastern Time, the FAA grounded all flights in the United States. Um, Now, an update reported at about 9 o'clock this morning has said that operations were resuming gradually. Uh, but I want to go over this article. This is going to be a longer article. Um, and I'm going on over the article rather than off the cuff here because I want to make sure some things are understood. So let's get into this. Departures resuming gradually after FAA orders pause on all domestic flights after computer failure. This comes from ABC News. The Federal Aviation Administration said normal operations were resuming gradually after ordering a nationwide pause on all domestic departures until 9 a.m. on Wednesday, following a computer failure that has impacted flights around the country. The ground stop has been lifted, officials said, at 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time. We continue to look into the cause of the initial problem. Departures were resuming at about 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time at two of the nation's busiest hubs, Newark and Atlanta. FAA officials said on Twitter, adding, "We expect departures to resume at other airports at 9 a.m. Eastern Time." The affected Notice to All Air Missions, or NOTAM, system is responsible for sending out flight hazards and real-time instructions to pilots. Administration officials said earlier, the FAA is still working to fully restore the Notice to Air Mission system following the outage. The FAA has ordered airlines to pause all domestic departures until 9 a.m. Eastern Time to allow agencies to validate the integrity of flight and safety information. A senior official briefed on the FAA computer problems tells ABC News that software issue developed late last night and led to a cascading series of IT failures, culminating in this morning's disruption. As has been reported, the disruption is confined to the commercial side of aviation. Engineers are feverishly working to fix the problems and separately identify precisely what happened. As of now, the assessment is the failures are the result of a glitch and not something intentional. All possibilities are being looked at to ensure that the FAA systems were not breached. Notably, the FAA system that failed is overdue for replacement. The official compared the current outage to the crisis that crippled Southwest Airlines during the holidays. Antiquated software overdue for replacement inside a critical IT network. If one thing goes down, the system can become paralyzed. White House press secretary confirmed in a tweet that President Joe Biden has been briefed and said there is no evidence of a cyber attack at this point. But the president directed DOT to conduct a full investigation into the causes. The FAA will provide regular updates. I just spoke with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. President Joe Biden addressed the media on the South Lawn of the White House. They don't know what the cause is, but I was on the phone with him about 10 minutes. I told him to report directly to me when they find out. Aircrafts can still land safely, just not take off right now. We don't know what the cause of it is expected to be able to, we don't know what the cause of it is expected to be able to. In a couple of hours, we'll have a good sense of what caused it and we'll respond at that time. Sorry, folks. It's hard to read word for word what Joe Biden says. The FAA is experiencing an outage that is impacting the update of NOTAMs, all our NOTAMs. All flights are unable to be released at this time, the FAA said in their initial statement announcing the problem. An update was issued shortly after the first announcement, saying that they were working to fix the problem. The FAA is working to restore its NOTAM system. We are performing final validation checks and repopulating the system now. Operations across the national airspace system are affected. We will provide frequent updates as we make progress. American Airlines also made a statement following the computer failure. The Federal Aviation Administration is experiencing an outage with NOTAM system, which provides critical flight safety operation information, said American Airlines. We are closely monitoring the situation, which impacts all airlines, and working with FAA to minimize disruption to our systems or to our operation and customers. We encourage customers to check aa.com for the latest flight information. The FAA system that sends out important real-time flight hazards and restrictions to all commercial airline pilots, NOTAMs, is currently suffering a nationwide outage. United has temporarily delayed all domestic flights and will issue an update when we learn more from the FAA, said United Airlines. Southwest Airlines also confirmed that they are suffering through delays due to technical issues occurring at the FAA. I'm not going to read that last paragraph because it's basically the same thing as the other airlines. But suffice it to say, the failure happened at the FAA and not the airport itself. It's not one particular airline that was affected. It was the NOTAM system at the FAA, at the government level. But what I want to point out is this happened before to a smaller degree on January 2nd. Several flights were delayed on January 2nd, arriving to and departing from Florida airports. Let's see. So I've pulled up the article from that event as well. It says computer issue that delayed Florida flights has been resolved. Obviously it hasn't because it just happened again, this time on a much larger scale. Orlando, Florida. The Federal Aviation Administration said a computer issue with one of its air traffic systems, which prompted flight delays at several Florida airports, has been resolved and that it was working to resume its normal flight schedules. Orlando International Airport, Tampa International Airport, Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, and Miami International Airport all saw flight delays according to FlightAware, an online website that tracks flight delays and cancellations. The computer issue has been resolved. The FAA is working towards safely returning to a normal traffic rate in the Florida airspace, the FAA said in an updated statement on Monday afternoon. Again, this is the report from January 2nd. The FAA said Monday was already expected to be a busy travel day with some 42,000 flights scheduled, and a week after thousands of flights were delayed or canceled across the country due to the winter storm over Christmas weekend and internal system issues at Southwest Airlines. Shortly after 1:30 p.m., people began posting on social media that their Florida-bound flights were delayed and or grounded and wondered what was going on. The FAA has slowed the volume of traffic into Florida airspace due to an air traffic computer issue that is being resolved, the agency said in a previous statement to Fox 35. A spokesperson for the FAA said the issue had to deal with an en route automation modernization system, also known as ERAM, which launched in March 2015 and helps air traffic controllers manage the number of flights in the sky and avoid potential issues. Specifically, what happened with that system is unclear. All right, so in this article from January 2nd, they're calling the ERAM, they're saying the issue was with the ERAM system. Now they're saying the issue is with the NOTAM system. What are the odds that within a week or two, or within just over a 1 week period, two major systems would go down to some unknown problems? They're saying it's not cyber attack, but I'm going to tell you something. If they have a minor cyber attack that affects one or two small companies, they might admit that. But if there's a cyber attack that causes issues with just a couple of airports, they're not going to tell anybody that. Simply because at that point, people's lives are in danger. People's lives are in jeopardy. And then come just over a week later, a similar issue happens with another federal system, flight system, that affects flights on a much larger scale. Well, naturally, they're not going to say anything about cyber attacks because of that. They're going to write it off as a system in need of upgrade. If they tell people that this was a cyber attack, it's going to create mass panic. People are going to stop flying because they're going to be scared that while their plane is in the air, there's going to be another attack that's going to cause the planes to potentially crash. So it makes sense that they're downplaying this in the way that they are, by saying this is simply a computer glitch because a system needed to be upgraded. But I'm going to tell you, 2 weeks apart, you've got the ERAM and now you've got the NOTAM system. A smaller event and now a larger event happened. I would be willing to bet you, I'm almost 100% positive these two issues are connected, and I would be willing to bet that this is because of a cyber attack and not because of just some software glitch. The coincidences, the chance of two software glitches this close together, highly unlikely. So, my opinion, again, this is my opinion, I would say this was probably a cyber attack. The original one on January 2nd might have been testing to see what they could do. And the one this morning, potentially probing deeper to see how much more damage they can do. Again, that's just my feeling. That's my gut feeling right now. This was a cyber attack. This is not good, folks. Millions of people fly every day, and for a country to admit that their safety systems are vulnerable would be a major mistake. So I don't know, folks. This is very disturbing. Again, I think they know exactly what happened, and I think what happened was a cyber attack myself, my personal beliefs. But you're not going to hear them admit that. They're not going to admit that to the public. That would create a panic. It would be devastating to airlines, because then a lot of people wouldn't want to fly then if they think that there's a chance that a plane could crash because of some sort of cyber attack. And we already know back during the pandemic, they were bailing out airlines because of layoffs, because people wouldn't get so they were laying people off, and then they were having to be bailed out by the government to make it through that, which is not the first time the airlines have been bailed out by the government. If they admitted this was a cyber attack, again, people would stop flying. The airlines would go bankrupt in no time. So, again, my gut feeling, this was a cyber attack, but they're not going to tell you that. So, do what you will with that information. Make your own assessments and judgments, and respond accordingly. Me personally, I wouldn't fly anywhere for the foreseeable future. This is seriously concerning. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you first thing this morning. I've got something else I want to do a video on. I'll do that here in a little while. But this one, I found out about this as soon as I got up, and the minute I read this, it reminded me of what happened in Florida on the 2nd. So I went ahead and pulled that article up, and I wanted to bring that to you right away. Again, I think it was a cyber attack, but you're not going to hear anybody from the government or the airlines admit that, because it would be devastating to the airlines. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Keep prepping. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves and your families. Pay attention and stay aware of all the things that are going on around you. And, you know, be aware of what's happening, folks. Be alert to problems, and hopefully you can catch them before they actually happen. Fortunately, nobody was hurt during this, but this could have been very, very bad. Anyway, that's all I've got. Until next time, folks, I'll catch you later.